Hello everybody, how are you guys doing? Hope everybody is doing amazingly well. Welcome back to another amazing lesson, and today in this lesson we are going to master passive infinitives and passive gerunds. We are going to learn everything about them. What passive infinitives are, how they look like, how to use them, when to use them. Again, what passive gerunds are, how they look like, how to use them, when to use them, everything about them. So the lesson is going to be really informative. It's going to be advanced. Make sure you watch it until the end. I'm excited as always. I know you guys are too. Let's do it. All right, everybody. Now let's understand what exactly passive infinitives and passive gerunds are. And before we do that, there is something which is very important for us to understand. All verbs in the English language are either used in the active voice or the passive voice, or both the active voice and passive voice. See, all verbs are used in the active voice. All verbs in the English language can be used in the active voice. But some of them or a lot of them can be used in the passive voice too. Not all the verbs in the English language can be used in the passive voice, though all of them can be used in the active voice. And the verbs that can be used in the passive voice can also be used in the active voice. All right. So a verb is used in the passive voice when you focus on the receiver of the action, when the focus is on the object, the receiver of the action, right? When the receiver of the action is more important than the subject who performed the action, we use the verb in the passive voice, right? A sentence in the passive voice indicates that the object is being acted upon, right? What's being acted upon or who's being acted upon is more important than who performed that action. All right. Now, both gerunds and infinitives are verb forms. All right. These are verb forms that do not function as verb, right? They function as all gerunds function as nouns, and infinitives function as a noun or as an adjective or as an adverb. All right. But these are verb forms that do not function as verbs. Since they are verb forms, they can be in the active voice or the passive voice. They will be in the active voice when the focus is on the doer of the action, and they'll be in the passive voice when the focus is on the receiver, the object of the action. All right. Now, what is a passive gerund? Let's understand this. A passive gerund is a gerund in the passive voice. It is a gerund, an ing form of a verb functioning as a noun in the passive voice. This is nothing but a gerund in the passive voice, and a gerund is an ing form of verb that functions as a noun. So, a passive gerund focuses on the receiver of the verb, which is the gerund here, all right, which functions as a noun, all right. So it focuses on the receiver of the gerund and functions as a noun, as I just told you. Let's look at the structure. So both the simple gerund and the perfect gerund, these are two different forms of gerunds. Both of these forms can be used in the passive voice. All right. Simple gerund, being followed by past participle, which is third form of a verb. And a perfect gerund in the passive voice looks like having plus been plus past participle. All right. This is the simple gerund and this is the perfect gerund in the passive voice. In the passive voice, in the active voice, they look different. All right. If you want to know all different forms of gerunds and how they function, there's a video on that on my channel. You can check that out. There's a website post as well on www.englishwithashish.com. You can check that out either. All right. Now let's look at some examples and understand this. Example number one. I love being called Babu by my mother. So I is my subject here. Love is my verb. Okay. I use the subject. Love is the verb. I love what? You can love a person. You can love a thing. You can love a concept. You can love performing an action as well. Or you can love receiving an action. So I love being called. Being called what? Babu. By whom? By my mother. So this entire thing is my gerund phrase, passive gerund phrase, where being called is my gerund, being plus past participle called, being called is my gerund, and Babu is the object of the gerund called what? I love being called what? Babu. By whom? By my mother. So this is the doer of the action, but we're not focusing on the doer of the action, we're focusing on the receiver, which is I here, me. So I love an action that somebody performs upon me. I love receiving an action here. I love being called Babu. Now, if this was in the active voice, it would be I love performing an action. I love calling him Babu, or I love calling people XYZ. I love calling my mother Babu, something like this. Now, I am doing the action here. The focus is on the doer of the gerund, doer of the action. But that's not the case here, right? The gerund is in the passive form, right? I love being called Babu by somebody, by doer. This is my doer, performer of the action calling, right? Which is my mother. All right. Second example, my parents did not appreciate being questioned. My parents is my subject. So this is my subject. Did not appreciate is my verb phrase, including the negation not. This is my verb phrase. Appreciate what? Appreciate is a transitive verb. It can have an object. Appreciate what? Being questioned. So my parents did not appreciate what? Being questioned by somebody, right? They were questioned. So they did not appreciate receiving an action, being questioned by somebody else, all right? They did not appreciate that somebody questioned them, all right? That they were questioned. This is again in the passive voice. Being plus past participle, questioned. Question, questioned, questioned. All right. You can add the doer of the action as well if you want. My parents did not appreciate being questioned by you. Okay. You can say that. All right. Or my parents did not appreciate that they were questioned. My parents did not appreciate that you questioned them. Something like this can also be said. Okay. Third example in the perfect gerund form. We are really embarrassed about having been confronted by him. We are really embarrassed. We is the subject. Are is my linking verb. Really is an adverb. All right, embarrassed is my subject. Complement adjective. About is my preposition, and this is the object of the preposition. We are really embarrassed about what? About receiving an action in the past. Okay, let's remove everything first. Now, what is the difference between a simple gerund and a perfect gerund? See, a simple gerund refers to the same time the main verb refers to, or maybe a time which is close to the time the main verb refers to. Okay, close here and there in the past or present or the future, but it's very close to the time the main verb refers to. When we talk about a perfect gerund, it refers to a time that is prior to a time the main verb refers to. So if the main verb refers to this time, it will refer to a time which is here, prior to this time. If the main verb refers to this time, it will refer to a time prior to this one here, but always prior to the main verb. Okay. So in the third example, we use my subject, our verb, embarrassed subject complement, about preposition, and this is the object of the preposition. Having been confronted by him. So we are really embarrassed. We are in a certain state of being which is embarrassed. So it's in the present. We are in this state of existence in the present right now. And we are embarrassed about an action that we received in the past. In the past, we are embarrassed about something that happened to us in the past. That we that happened to us in the past. All right, we are really embarrassed about having been confronted by him. Having been confronted is my gerund, perfect gerund in the passive form. All right, let's remove everything. This is my gerund in the perfect form. Having been confronted, this is the doer. By whom? By him. Okay. I can also say we are really embarrassed about being confronted by him. This can also be said, and the meaning will be the same. But when you have a gerund form that refers to a past time prior to the time the main verb refers to, use it. Okay, use that tool. Okay, this can confuse your listener or reader. Using a simple form here, though referring to a past time prior to the time the main verb refers to, is not something that you should do, because there is a particular tool for that which is called perfect gerund. Use it. Okay, use it. Fourth example, she admitted. She is my subject here. Admitted is the verb, and this is referring to a past time. Admitted. Okay, admitted what? Having been approached by doer, a friend of mine. So let's say this is present and this is a point in time in the past. This is when she admitted, and she admitted an action that she received in the past prior to this time. Okay, prior to this time. So she admitted having been approached by a friend of mine. Having been approached by a friend of mine. Again, if you want to use these gerunds in the active voice, you can do that. Again, you'll have to use the active form. I love calling my mother Babu. My parents did not appreciate questioning you, right? They did the action. We are really embarrassed about confronting you or having confronted you, right? Having questioned you, you can use the perfect form as well. Uh, she admitted committing the crime, right? She admitted having committed the crime. Okay, something like this. Now let's move to the passive infinitive. What is a passive infinitive? A passive infinitive, just give me a second. A passive infinitive is an infinitive in the passive form. Simple. That's why we're calling it a passive infinitive. It's an infinitive in the passive voice. Okay, in the passive form. An infinitive is formed using the particle to and a base form of a verb in the simple infinitive, right? And it can function as a noun or an adjective or an adverb. Let's look at the structures. Now understand this. There are four types of infinitives. Number one, simple infinitive. Okay. Number two, continuous infinitive. Okay, I have a lesson on this as well. You can check that out. Number three, perfect infinitive. Perfect. And number four, perfect continuous. Okay, perfect continuous. Right? So all these forms of infinitive can be used in the active voice. No brainer, right? But all of them cannot be used in the passive voice. Only the simple infinitive and the perfect infinitive can be used in the passive voice. Okay? And here's how they look in the passive voice. To simple infinitive followed by be followed by past participle, which is a third form of a verb. Perfect infinitive in the passive voice to plus have plus been plus past participle. Okay, now we'll look at some examples. Again, same thing. There are four forms of infinitive: simple, continuous, perfect, and perfect continuous infinitives. Okay, example number one. She wants John to be promoted. She is my subject. Okay, wait. She is my subject. Okay, wants is my verb, main verb. She wants John to be promoted. She wants John not to do something, to receive an action. She wants John to be promoted. She wants John to receive an action by somebody else, by the organization, by you, by the manager, whatever. Right? This is in the passive voice. John is the receiver of the action. She wants John to be promoted. Simple infinitive in the passive voice. If this were in the active voice, we could say she wants, just give me a second, she wants John to promote me. Here, John is doing the action of promoting, right? John is doing the action of promoting, but here John is receiving the action of promoting. She is being, sorry, John is being promoted. She wants John to be promoted. Okay. Second example, I think she wants to be awarded. I is my subject, thing is my verb, subject, verb, and this entire thing is the object of the verb thing, right? This is a noun clause. The conjunction that is missing here. There should be that here. It can be omitted. I think that she wants to be awarded. So she wants, again, she wants, you can want something, you can want a thing, you can want a person, you can want an action as well. She wants to do something. No, she wants to receive an action. She wants to be awarded. To plus be plus past participle. She wants to be awarded by somebody else, by the committee, by the company, by me, something like this, right? They are simple infinitives in the passive form. Now, perfect infinitives. Let's remove this. Third, I am glad to have been called here. I is my subject, am is my linking verb, glad is my subject complement. Some subject, linking verb, subject, complement. Okay, and this is my adjective complement. This is my adjective complement in form of a infinitive phrase. Adjective complement. Okay, and it's an infinitive phrase in the passive voice. Perfect infinitive phrase in the passive voice. I'm glad. Uh, I'm glad about an action that I received in the past. I'm glad to have been called here. I am glad. Glad in what way? To have been called here by somebody else. I didn't do this action of calling. It was done by somebody else. I am glad to have been called here by Rahul, by your mother, by the committee, by the company. All right. So I am glad about an action that happened to me that I received in the past. Okay. Example number 4. Last, you seem subject, seem verb. You seem to have been annoyed by him. So you seem to be in a certain state of being. You seem to have received an action, to have been annoyed. To plus have plus been plus past participle, annoyed by this guy, by the doer, him. You seem to have been annoyed by him. I'm glad to have been called. To plus have plus been plus called. Perfect infinitive in the passive voice. Right? You can watch the last video. It's about perfect infinitive. Right? You'll find more examples. There's a post on my website as well. You can watch that. You can check that out. Right? And you'll get to know more about perfect infinitives. And yeah, coming back to this now, we have understood what a perfect gerund is, what a perfect infinitive is, their forms. Now I have a task for you guys, right? You have some examples, and what you have to do is you have to use this verb form and use an infinitive or a gerund in the right form, in the right words, and put it in the blank. This is what you have to do, and share your answers in the comment section, or you can match your answers with mine that are there on the website. I'll share the link of the post in the comment section. Not in the comment section, I'll share it in the description box. Better. All right. So do this, and I'll see you guys very soon. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you learned something new. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you do that. You subscribe to the channel, press that notification button as well. And I'll see you guys very soon. Till then, keep learning, have fun. I'm out. Namaskar.